Hello everyone. So it's been just under 2 weeks since the last video. I've had 2 lessons since then, and I would have recorded a video after the first of those 2 lessons, but I just had a bunch of life shit going on and it really ruined my momentum. So that lesson, we did learn a few more pieces, but it was also a lot about form at the piano. So that involved a lot of course correction for me, how to sit at the piano, how to make sure that my fingering is correct, how to make sure I'm not super tense when I'm playing at the piano. And those were the big takeaways from that. And then in my second lesson that I just had this Wednesday, we learned more pieces and we also learned about dynamics. So there's a lot to cover. I'm not going to be able to cover every single piece that we went over. So I figured I'll do what I can today. I'll cover one piece from my first lesson and then most of the pieces from my second lesson. But I also do think it's important to talk about that form part. Now, because of the way I recorded my first video on this channel, which had its own share of technical problems, you can't really see the exact way I'm sitting at the piano, how tense I am playing the piano. And because of that, today, all the pieces I'm going to do are going to be on my baby grand piano that I have in the living room. I can't even remember if I mentioned that I had one of those last video. But I think going forward, it's going to be useful to do an entire piece together on that piano and basically use this keyboard that I have here for any basic demonstration purposes. Okay, so at this point I was going to talk about some things I learned about proper form at the piano, but honestly it just took way too much time and I think it's just better if I fast track it. If you want to skip this brief talk, just go to this timestamp. So here we go, just 2 things. Number 1, sit far enough forward in your chair when playing. I don't mean play close to the piano, I just mean sit so that there's minimal pressure on your thighs. This way you have a larger range of motion. If you need to lean across the piano to hit faraway keys, it's a lot easier. This won't really help me much until like months down the line, but I don't know, thought it was interesting. The other thing, just relax, man. Your arms should act as dead weight. This is mostly to avoid injury down the line. We don't want any tension in the wrist or the forearm. Alright, so that's like legit all I really needed to talk about. Back to the video, where I talk about a nice finger exercise. Now, when I was playing in that first of 2 lessons, my teacher told me that I have weak finger strength, and I must develop this finger strength. And this is the exercise that she suggested. You put your index and your middle finger down, and you hold them down. And you got to make sure that your fingers are curved the whole time. You don't want to bend your fingers because that's another problem. If you look at how I was playing the spook, you can actually see I bend my fingers a little bit. That's bad. So you hold these 2 fingers down, and then just in a cycle, you're going to do your thumb, ring, pinky, pinky, ring, thumb. So now with all that stuff covered, I want to get into the first piece that I'll cover for this video. In the last video, I mentioned that I was probably going to introduce some left hand this time around, and that is what this piece is all about. Now the piece is called Love Somebody. Now I got a few people in mind when I play this song, but I don't know who it's about though. Just saying. So what's cool about this song is I'm playing 5 different notes with the left hand. C, D, E, F, and G. So yeah, you don't even have to move your hands around for this piece or anything, or even your fingers. It's more so just playing the notes in the left hand. That's about it. Alright, so now let's get into what I learned just this week, just this Wednesday. We know how to play both hands separately, but there's been no piece for me, at least at that point, that did both hands at the same time. And that's where this piece called Nightfall comes in. It should be played quietly, and this is actually the first case of me playing a chord. So before I would always just be using one finger to play one note at a time, but with chords, now I'm playing multiple notes at the same time. That's kind of the definition of a chord. So yeah, let me try this one out. So I figured I'd go over just one more piece today. There is another piece that I learned in my lesson that I'm just not going to cover in this video. So this last piece that I want to go over is called Firefly. So in terms of notes, there's no new concepts. The big thing with this piece is that for me it introduced the concept of dynamics, or in other words, just the volume of how you play the piano. Part of playing the piano correctly is just playing the correct notes, but if you only focus on playing the right notes at the right time, it sounds kind of robotic. When you add dynamics to that sound, that's what really gives piano an emotion. So in this piece, there'll be times where I'm playing pretty quietly, other times pretty moderately. Other times, I'll start by playing softly and then play a little bit louder. That's called a crescendo, where you gradually increase the sound. So we'll see how I do on this one. I think this is probably the one I'm actually most excited to nail down. Okay, so that'll be it for this video. I'm not gonna lie, getting a take that I liked for both Nightfall and Firefly took quite a bit of time. I really wanted to make sure that I had the dynamics right. You know, in Firefly, the dynamics are kind of all over the place. You play soft and loud. Nightfall is supposed to be quiet the whole time. And I know I played that one D note just a little too loud. But it is what it is. I think I'll get better at it with time. So yeah, have yourself a good week or so, and I'll catch you next time.